Hi folks, I was thinking there's been a lot of tough stuff going on in the world over the last, I suppose the last few thousand years. But like recently there's been a lot of tough stuff going on as well, and I was just wanting to say, like, I hope life is good for you, and if things are really tough, I hope things get better soon for you and for anyone you care about. And you know, I think, like, with all this stuff that's going on, it's more important than ever that we're kind to each other if we can be, and if people are being horrible to us, we just maybe try and avoid those people, and and also, like, maybe be on our guard a bit about, because I remember when I studied computer science years ago, being told that thing of the strategy of divide and conquer, for figuring out how to tackle big tasks, was why we got taught that at the time. And but I think in society, those that seek power, it wouldn't surprise me if they used the strategy of divide and conquer to make people more easy to manipulate, and and so they can get the power they want. So I think all these different wars and things, really, there could be people behind all that are making a lot of money off these things. All these like aid packages and all that. They're basically loans to buy a lot of weapons. So there's a huge industry, like, making a lot of money from all these things, and like, I remember, like, these people, that are behind the leaders of these things, they were all having big meetings all the time, together for years. They were all getting together, best of pals, with funny smiles on their faces, like they knew some secrets that we didn't, and they were having a laugh at our expense. So it's, and then they had this idea for the great, what was the word, the reset thing, where they were saying everything was going to have to change, and there was going to be this, what is it, the fourth industrial revolution, and they needed to create a desire for change in people, and then all of a sudden we've got these huge energy bills and stuff, so I think, like, it's important to, like, make sure we don't get played like pawns in a game, of chess, like, where our lives get affected badly by all these people that are, manipulating situations to get power and money and all that, like, because even things like inflation and all that can be manipulated quite easily by people that have got control of the banks and all that, so I think there's a lot of things going on that are affecting people's lives in a seriously bad way sometimes, where people are struggling to pay bills and struggling to know how to get enough food on the table, and and I think all this stuff, it fits in with that thing of where if they do want to create massive changes in society, then they have to make big changes happen, and, like, they don't care about our happiness and all that. They, not really. They might say they do, but they don't really. So I think it's a really important we educate ourselves. And I spoke with Noam Chomsky, like, via email for a short amount of time, and he very kindly, like, replied to me, and he said, like, education is the most important thing we can do to try and make things better, and try and create positive change. So I think he's right. I disagree with him on some things, but and I definitely think communism is a bad idea for starters. It sounds maybe theoretically nice, but it ends up with the people in charge basically being this elite that get all the workers to do all the work, and then the workers don't get the reward for their efforts, you know, like is the reality of it all. And with that, but anyway, that's something for another video maybe. But I was just wanting to say, like, you know, there's a lot of tough times going on, and I've been meaning to use this channel, like, just to talk about stuff generally and do music things and talk about music stuff. But I just wanted to say, like, there's a lot of tough stuff going on, and I really hope things are good for you, and that, you know, we find ways to make life better for the good-hearted people in the world, and we find ways to stop the psychopaths that are seeking power. We find ways to stop them from manipulating things all the time through educating ourselves, I think, and through talking about things. And, you know, they distract us with wars and, like, every so often, or recessions every so often. It's strange how every time people start to get better off financially in the economy, and start to be able to buy homes, and food becomes affordable and all of a sudden we get hit by inflation and another recession. It's like a repeating pattern, you know. So I think it's really important we educate ourselves and try and help each other out, and also don't let them divide us against each other, you know, because, like, there's so many people that are power hungry people that try and divide us against each other through things like religion and differences of opinion and all that. And for me, I personally feel like for myself, like I feel like I think freedom of speech and freedom of thought is important, but that means we need to accept that other people have different opinions to ourselves, and not try and make other people agree with what we feel all the time, and not allow other people to force their opinions on other people either, you know. Like, I personally feel like that statement of I might not agree with what you say, but I defend your right to say it, you know. But I think that goes all ways, where it's important we respect the right of people to have different opinions, but also protect against other people who are trying to force their opinions on us, you know. But I think I really hope we find ways to, like, make life better, and, like, we find ways to protect what we've got, and don't let them manipulate us into wars and stuff, you know, because some of these people, like, I think that are in charge, I think they create wars and all that to make profit, and they manipulate people with, like, nationalist ideas and stuff, which I'm proud of the nation I'm from, you know, but I don't think it's right to you know, go to war over just an idea. Like, you know, it's like, for me, I think everyone should have the right to defend themselves if they're attacked, you know, like, you know, that's for sure, you know, like, but also, like, it's so important to protect the little children and stuff, you know, where we don't allow people to make us go to war over just these, like, greed for resources and stuff, you know, because in a lot of these countries where they go to war and all that, when you look into it, there's actually a lot of oil usually and things, you know, and even in the small wars that are going on recently, you know, there's actually were a lot of oil reserves discovered in those areas, funnily enough. And also, like, you know, access to ports and all that stuff, you know. So it's all just you know, a big power game, you know, that affects innocent people, you know. And I think it's really important we try and educate ourselves on what's really going on in places, and not allow the mainstream media to, like, just put a gloss over everything, where they don't talk about the real reality of what's going on, and don't allow people to manipulate you with you know, like, outrage at what's going on at places, because quite often what's going on isn't really what's, you know, been you know, what we get told is going on is quite often not what's really happening at a place, and it's not quite often not really why something is happening. So, but yeah, I just wanted to I just wanted to say I hope life's good for you, and like I've got a few more songs that I'm working on, and that I've been meaning to finish for a long time, and you know, thanks for listening to my songs on my Hassall channel, like and like I hope life will be good for you, and like I really hope the people that try and start wars and all that, hope we find a way to stop those people from being able to cause misery for so many people in the world, and we find ways to stop the wars that are going on through peaceful means and through negotiation, and through finding solutions that help all the good-hearted people in the world, because there's always going to be like the psychopaths and all that want wars, and usually they're the people that don't actually go and do the fighting. I think it'd be really good if we had a law where if someone wants to start a war, they have to go and fight at the front line, like, you know, like really at the front line, like, because it's amazing how many of these politicians that are so keen to go to war and like order people to go to war, they make sure they're miles away from the war, and their families miles away from the war. So I think it's really important we protect the little children and all that by maybe bringing in a law that the politicians have to like fight on the front line if they want to start a war when there wasn't a war before, you know. So yeah, I really hope things can be good in the future for humanity, and I really hope we manage to avoid any big conflicts, and we find ways to talk with each other and find peaceful solutions to things, because really we're all humans and we might have differences of opinion, but I think it's really important we don't allow people to manipulate us into hating each other just based on differences of opinion, and those people that do try and create division between people based on religion and politics and all that, where they're preaching like hate and all that stuff, like I think it's really important we find ways to stop that, and also, you know, like there's people that went to war to stop dictators from trying to control everyone, you know, that like those were the kind of, if any war was a justified war, you know, that there's times like that, you know, where people have stood up against tyranny, you know, like, and tried to stop the psychopaths from trying to control everyone and harm everyone, you know. So, but I think there's times now where we're going to have to take risks of speaking out against people that are trying to control us and trying to tell us what to think, and it might result in us, like, you know, being cancelled or or you know, being at risk and all that. But I think, you know, if we don't start to speak up against the bad people in the world that are trying to turn people against each other, then if we don't speak up against those things going on, then we could end up in a situation where the world is run by absolute psychopaths, more than it is now, you know. And so it's yeah, I hope we find ways to make things good. And like, if you've got any ideas on how to make things better in the world, like, it'd be nice to hear from you in the comments section. And I really hope life's good for you, and that we can find ways to make life good. And a lot of my songs are about just wishing life was good for good-hearted people, and, you know, wishing that the like my song "I Had a Dream," like, that's about like wishing the mean, cruel people in the world would just leave the good-hearted people in the world in peace to dream on, you know, like, and to live in peace, you know. So I hope we manage to find ways to develop living in peace and harmony and with each other, and to find ways to make it so that people tolerate differences of opinion, you know, because it's getting too much nowadays where just because someone's got a difference of opinion, they're hated by people, and that's not right, because we're not Borg, you know, like in Star Trek, where there was the Borg that every single one of them thought exactly the same thing, and they were like a hive sort of thing, where the like differences of opinion just it wasn't tolerated. It just didn't happen at all. And we're not that. We're humans, and we've all got different minds and different ideas of what we'd like to do in life, and different ideas of what's best and what's good in that. So I think that's one of the amazing things about humans, is that we all like are different. We're unique, you know, like, and like I think it'd be really nice if we could find ways to like build like tolerance of differences of opinion, and like to think, well, I disagree with them, but you know, they're not forcing me to accept their opinion, and just trying. I think if there's people that are trying to force their opinion on other people, that's where we need to make a stand and make sure they get cancelled. Maybe turn the tables on them, you know, and like you know, like but ultimately it'd be best if no one got cancelled and all that, and we just like build a thing where we actually accept the fact that different people have different opinions, and you know, that I think the world would be a much better place if we could all just be a bit more, you know, accepting of differences between us, and that, you know, and like celebrate the differences between us, you know, because that's what makes humans amazing, is the fact we all have our own minds and our own ideas, and that's what makes the amazing achievements in humanity possible, the fact everyone's got different ideas, and then all the different people and ideas and all that all kind of bounce off each other through history, and we get this amazing like development of ideas, and the growth of ideas, and the emergence of new ways of thinking and stuff by different people thinking about different things people have said and all that, you know. And but I think if there's people that are like deliberately trying to preach the, you know, the people with differences of opinion, like in religion and all that, there's people that are trying to make it so that that's not, you know, not tolerated in their system of things, you know, like the differences of opinion, and you know, and there's a lot of control goes on in some countries where, you know, there's countries where even until very recently women were not allowed to drive, and they're not allowed to go out of the house without a chaperone, you know, without someone to accompany them, and like, and that we need to make sure that things like that are not allowed, you know, like, because like fair enough if the woman wants to live in that system, that's a different thing, but like when you have a society where people are controlling and like dictating to people where they can even go and all that, that's like a police state sort of thing. Like Stalin would be proud of that, you know, that's dictatorship, and we need to find ways to stop all that sort of thing going on for sure, you know, like you know, because like in Afghanistan, like the girls are not allowed to even go to school, you know, like, and like where's the outrage about that? You know, there's so much outrage about what's going on in Ukraine and all that, but where's the outrage of, you know, you get all these Black Lives Matter protests and all that about racism and stuff, and but where's the outrage about what's going on in Afghanistan, where the children are not even allowed to go to school, and there's girls have literally been shot by people like for trying to go to school, and like there's nothing getting done about that, you know, like maybe the odd little political, we'll have a meeting with them and maybe discuss it a little bit, but there's nothing being done to protect those girls' rights, you know, and things like that are important to protect, I think, you know, where, you know, the right of people to education and all that, and I think really there's a lot of talk of rights, but you know, there's no such thing really as a right, you know, to something, you know, that what a right is more something that we make sure that we can have, you know, like no one really naturally has. I know this sounds crazy, like possibly to a lot of people, but technically speaking, we're not born with like any rights at all in a way, because what we really have is like privileges that people make sure like that we get, things like freedom, freedom of speech. It's not like really a right in the strict sense of the definition of the word a right. A right is something that we are guaranteed, but like the only reason rights are guaranteed is because people actually stand up to protect them when our rights are violated. So it's important to protect our rights to things by making sure that people get those rights and are free to exercise those rights, like the right to education or freedom of thought or freedom of speech. And it's like there's a lot of places in the world where it's illegal to preach Christianity, and I'm not saying one religion's better than another or anything, but what I am saying is, it's important to remember there's a lot of places in the world where, they don't have the rights that we have at all, like in countries like Britain, and a lot of people complain about countries like Britain, about the oppression and all that, but really Britain and America are the freest countries in the world in a lot of ways, and a lot of the European countries as well, but where we can say what we feel to a major extent. We maybe can't say everything we feel without consequences, but we can say what we believe, and we can criticize the government, or we can, until recently, we could criticize religions and all that without any danger, but now there's more and more and more risk and danger to people for having freedom of thought and freedom of speech and all that, and there's literally people being physically attacked for saying their opinion about religions and all that, so I think if we let this carry on in this direction, we could end up in a situation where things change drastically in a bad way, because it's easy to forget that it's only fairly recently, in the last 100 years or so, that we've had all these rights, to freedom of thought and freedom of speech, whereas in Europe hundreds of years ago, if you criticised the religion, you'd end up being executed, killed by the church, and that sort of thing happened, so by the Christian church, so I think it's really important that we make sure it doesn't go back to being like that, where it's being accepted in society, where people are frightened to say, hey, wait a minute, this guy that spoke out against that religion just got physically attacked, for criticising the religion. And it's almost becoming like people think, oh, well, he criticised the religion, so, what is going to happen, that he gets attacked, and that. It's really scary that, it's becoming a thing where it's almost like being accepted that, if you criticise some things, it's inevitable that the person's going to be attacked, and we need to try and find ways to stop things going in that direction, and really that involves taking a risk of speaking out whenever we see racism or discrimination. And I remember a friend of mine, he made a point of showing me this thing in a film where someone was being hung just for the color of their skin, and it's really awful, but he said to me, remember this, and he said to me, whenever you see racism going on, please do something, say something to stop it happening, and I've realised that applies to all things, where, not just racism, but where people are being physically hurt because of having a difference of opinion, or physically hurt because they're a different religion, or physically hurt because they dare to criticize the masses opinion on some ideology, you know, like that's creeping into things, you know, these days. And you know, it's important we start to speak out against all that, even though it might result in us being, you know, shut out by communities and all that, if we sort of speak out against like violence in religion and stuff, you know, like. But I think if we don't start to do something to like protect freedom of speech and freedom of thought, we could end up like in a situation where we're back in the Middle Ages, where people are being executed just for criticizing a religion or criticizing a gender ideology or something, you know, you know, all that sort of thing, you know. So I personally feel like anyone should be allowed to be whatever they want to be in life, as long as they're not forcing other people to be things, you know, like. So you know, like, but I just think it's getting more and more where people are forcing other people to be what they want them to be, you know, in terms of like ideology, or like what you're allowed to say and what you're not, and you know what you're allowed to criticize and what you're not. And like it's perfectly acceptable to be racist against white people, all this stuff about white privilege and all that, you know. It's if my family have white privilege, it's because my ancestors earned it. Like, my ancestors were basically servants to people that had money. My ancestors, some of them were travelers. Like my ancestors, like, worked down coal mines from when they were 12 years old and worked 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, like, and got a half day on a Sunday. You know, so like if that's white privilege, I don't know what to say about all that, you know. So like, we've earned any privilege we've got, you know. My family earned the houses we got, you know, like and like the, you know, I get racist treatment of people when I'm in places, you know, just for the fact I'm white, you know, like. So I think it's really important we stop any form of things like racism and discrimination and all that. But like I think as well it's important, like, you know, like back to what I was saying at the beginning of this video, it's so important we look after ourselves and we look after people we care about, and that we do nice things for ourselves, and that we try and build up a safe, happy future for ourselves and for those we care about. And there could be tough times coming ahead, so like I think it's important, it's important that we prepare things so that we can be safe and comfortable, and you know, try and build up a stock of food and all that, just in case things go a bit mental. And it can save money as well if you buy food when you see it cheap, you know, like if it's going to last a long time, you know, the food, just stock up on stuff when you see it on offer. That can help a lot as well during inflation. And but yeah, I think it's so important we're kind to ourselves, and that we try and do our best to stop any development of like things like division and hate and all that in our communities. And you know, and we stand up for what's right, and we try and do what's right in life. And you know, and it might involve risk sometimes of speaking out against like hate and you know, discrimination, you know, and like if we speak out against the prevailing opinion in some cases, you know, like when people are trying to shape society into one where people are dictating what we can think and what we're allowed to say and think and all that. I think it's really important we start to try and stand up for what's right and speak out against any people that are trying to tell us what to think or what to believe and all that, and people that are trying to harm like people just for having differences of opinion and differences of belief. And I personally just feel like I might disagree with what you say, but I defend your right to say it. And I personally think anyone should be allowed to be whatever they want to be in life, as long as they're not harming anyone else, you know. And I really hope we find ways to make things good. And like, I really hope everyone watching this, like, that you have a really good, happy future, and and thanks for listening to my songs. And I started out this video just wanting to say, like, please, I really hope we find ways, and you find ways to make life good, and that things are really good for you in the future, and that there's tough times at the moment, but I think it's really important we try and make sure that people that we care about know that we care about them, and we build up more time with people we care about, and try and get in touch with people we've lost touch with that we care about, and build things good again, and build things back better in our own lives, so that our own lives are really good, and then we can manage to beat all these psychopaths who are trying to control and ruin our lives by making our lives really great, and by uniting with everyone in a positive way to make sure that all the good things in life can be protected and built up. Yeah, lots of love to you, and thanks for checking out my songs on Hassall. Yeah, nice one. Take care, and I'll see you later. Bye.